Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Policy Beats. Today, we will be speaking to Pakistan's treasure trove. He is someone who has been the driving force of the Rural Support Program Network, Mr. Shoaib Sultan Khan. He is chairman RSPN. He has been gracious enough to give us time for this conversation that we will be having today. Mr. Sultan basically initiated the Aga Khan Rural Support Network, which made difference to millions of people and their livelihood. And for his efforts in Pakistan and in South Asia, he has received the highest honors from multiple international and national organizations. He is also the recipient of Nishan-e-Imtiaz. Sir, thank you so much for giving us the time. First of all, how are you? And it's a pleasure to be hosting you here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very grateful that you thought of interviewing me.
Yes, sir. Why not? Sir, I would like to take this back a little. All these years and the devotion to support people has only increased, given that you are still pursuing and working in the organization. You're giving the direction to the network. Basically, what I would like to understand is, what is it that is still driving you to sustain such a network? Where did the initial thought come from? A lot of times people come up with an idea and it lasts just enough, like a flicker of a flame. But this has outlasted that flame, and it basically continues to inspire many people to continue joining the organization and working towards community development. So with that being said, and also given the socio-economic affairs of Pakistan today, I would like to know that what role community development and community mobilization can do to alleviate the socio-economic problems that we are facing today. A lot of times people say that we haven't exactly come out of the loop that we were in back then. So please, sir, what do you have to say about that?
Well, my life is a bundle of coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
So, I joined the civil service and I thought that was my career.
Right.
And I enjoyed being a civil servant. Both, at that time there was East Pakistan also, so I worked both in West and East Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
But then I met a visionary in East Pakistan, Dr. Hamid Khan, who was from West Pakistan but was working at, there were two academies established at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Pakistan Academy for Rural Development, one in Kumila,
Mm-hmm.
in the then East Pakistan, and one in Peshawar.
Okay.
And when I was posted as a civil servant in the then East Pakistan, then I met Dr. Hamid Khan. And I also visited because I was an assistant commissioner in one of the subdivisions in Komila district where he was working. And I saw how he was trying to help the poor.
Right.
And he also was very indulgent, and basically whenever I wanted to go and see him and see what he was doing, he explained everything to me. So that was really the, sort of, you can say, the seed
Right.
that he planted.
Mm.
And when I got an opportunity to really basically change over to another career from the civil servant, I was Commissioner Karachi, and at that time the post of the commissioner was abolished.
Oh, okay.
And I then requested them that I may be posted to the Pakistan Academy for Rural Development
I
in
see.
Peshawar. This was 1971, so a long time ago. And that is where this change occurred then.
Mm.
And what Dr. Hamid Khan taught me was very simple. He said that, look, where is poverty? Poverty is at the household level.
Mm.
So if you cannot reach the household, that how are you going to make any difference in the livelihood of the poor people? And he told me that poverty cannot be reduced or their livelihood improved individually. So, there has to be a development partnership
Right.
between the support organization which wants to do something for the poor and the poor themselves, which
Okay.
means that the poor have to agree to get organized because individually they cannot be helped. And along with organization, of course, there has to be some leadership in the organization
Right.
to basically take care of the organizations. So they have to really identify an activist, a genuine, competent leader who thinks of himself as well as for others.
True.
So, with these simple principles, that is how, whenever I got a chance, the main thing was that how could I form a development partnership with the poor,
Okay.
with their obligations and our obligations. And then each one has to fulfill their obligations.
Sir, this is perhaps the first time that I'm hearing a partnership with the poor. Normally, we categorize them as only people who need to be lifted up, which is to a certain degree true. But perhaps for them to agree and mobilize themselves, as you say, is also an important element of their conditions to get better as well. So, you very rightly pointed out the need for a thought leader and inspiration. And so, given in these times, I feel like a lot of people are looking for that inspiration, and RSPN rightly holds that light. I'm like it. It's genuinely inspirational to see the work that you and your team have pulled. And so, one of the interesting objectives that your organization undertakes is that there's policy advocacy across multiple levels in society, which obviously then also includes the mobilization of the poor. And on that end, I would like to know a lot of the times, and since your network is across provinces, but some provinces feel that their woes and grievances are less attended to, one of them being Balochistan. And so you also have projects working in Balochistan. How has your organization then leveraged their advocacy practices to create behavioral change within Balochistan when we speak of bringing the poor to the terms and condition? And at the same time, what level of influence has your efforts made it on the government of Balochistan or on the federal government with regards to the status of the economic and social fabric of the Baloch people and Balochistan itself, of course?
But I must admit that I have never worked in Balochistan.
Okay.
And I think if you really want to know what is happening in Balochistan, then we have a Balochistan Rural Support Program.
Right.
And there is a very competent CEO. And you must visit them, and then they will be able to really explain
Rightly,
that
sir.
how the situation is. And but I think that what I hear from him and what my discussions are with him, people are the same everywhere in two terms. One, that even the poorest of the poor has the potential to improve his or her livelihood,
Absolutely.
poorest of the poor. But there are obstacles in the way. So any organization which is able to help them, because as they say, that it is something where it is a development partnership, because it is only it's only the poor who know that what they can do and why they are not able to do it. And the job of the support organization with the RSP, whichever is there, is really to have a dialogue with them and then find out at the individual level then. Once they get organized, then of course they can each come up with that what they can do and why they are not able to do it.
Right.
And then help them to remove those obstacles. It's only then it makes a difference.
Interesting. And so I would bring this up that since you've been in a position of policy as well, and you've also, I'm assuming, worked with policymakers closely. So, what do you identify as the major factor that is causing a disconnect between the people on ground and the state itself? And how can we actually reduce that gap between the people and the state when it comes to removing the loop of generational poverty? And on top of that, sir, I would also like to ask you that after the 18th Amendment, the devolution of power was essential, right? But it hasn't essentially been achieved because we're still seeing district administrations that are running the rural economies, so to say. So, what hurdles are present when it comes to empowering these communities? If you could perhaps give us a little more detail about your interactions with people when they speak of these obstacles.
No, as I mentioned, that individually they cannot be helped. Now, unless you make organizing communities as the foundation, as the basis.
Okay.
Now, you can't complain the government departments and because they don't have that mandate.
Okay.
It is not something which can be an add-on as an appendix that all right. No, it is a full-time, basically, activity. So that's where, of course, RSPs or whichever organizations are trying to do that. That's what we are trying to link up the communities with the government departments. I mean, government departments, what do they have? Services and supplies. But the only thing is that they have not that interconnection with the people who need it. So what happens that some people who are really I won't say they're cunning, but those who are enterprising, they are able to access these, but the majority of the people are not. And that's why this becomes very important, what we are doing. But the second important thing is that, I mean, for example, now we have almost 8.5 million rural households organized. But the question is that it's almost over 50 million people. Are the government departments really linking up? Because that we could not force them.
Right.
Where they link up, it happens. But without this linkage, the services and supplies of the government will not reach the needy and everyone.
Well, then that has to do a lot with the will of these departments as well.
Obviously. They have all the services and supplies.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like basically taking the horse to water and if the water doesn't want to drink, what can you do?
What can you do? Rightly, sir. So, but then again, for people in position of power, even if it is not in their mandate to perhaps constantly go door to door to see these things, but at least in the larger picture, they still have to, they are there for the service of people. Rotary has this interesting motto that service above self. And I feel like in Pakistan as well, we need to find certain inspirational phrases that continue to guide us. At one point, we had unity, faith, discipline. But I feel like we also need something beyond that to achieve the problems that we are facing now. But that is just, of course, a perspective that I'm sharing with you. And apart from that, sir, when it comes to international organizations coming into the country, at first, perhaps, there was always a welcoming gesture towards them. And even still, we're willing to coordinate and work, and partnerships are essential. But in recent years, studies have shown that often these organizations come up with their own agendas as well, and they're trying to funnel those. For example, some will rigorously work on democracy, and on the back end, we might be looking into some other issues. Uh, so, should we then focus on projects that are donor focused projects to alleviate poverty, or projects that should be initiated through the participation of communities and their public opinion? Because otherwise, certain agendas are also imposed, to a certain degree. What would be your opinion on that?
No, it's not either or. Of course, I mean, for example, the donors that come to us, for example, like the European Union, now they don't come up with their agenda.
Okay.
They really want to pick up what we are doing, and if they feel that this is something which will, they support that.
Okay.
And that's how, I mean, because I don't think that any donor comes up with their own agenda that, well, I mean, maybe for some special reason or for some special type of thing. For example, if they are thinking about women empowerment, or if they're thinking about, let's say, something which they feel should be done in terms of human rights and all that, that's a separate thing. Otherwise, the donors will, for example, the donors which work with us, they see what we are doing and then pick up what they think, in their view, is something which is going to help the communities. And as I mentioned, the European Union has been helping us in that way.
Okay, that's brilliant, actually. And then on that note, again, I would also like to know perhaps your perception of the way the Benazir Income Support Program is functioning, or the ESAS program was functioning. What do you think are the fundamental issues when it comes for these programs, when it comes to sustainable poverty alleviation? Or perhaps if you were to compare the RSPs and these particular setups and schemes, why are they not able to achieve a similar level of success given the network that you're currently heading? This is not to put you in an awkward spot.
No, not at all, not at all. For example, it's a question of approach.
Exactly.
One approach is that you give money to people at a fixed rate which you have decided, and then hope that
it works.
They will really use it, and then. But the question is that first we have to find out how much money they need. You may have given billions and billions. For example, if you look at the Benazir Income Support Program, since it has started, it must have given more than 700 billion rupees. But has it really made the difference?
The impact.
The impact. And that's where, what we do is that we also, because, money is everything, Without the money, nothing can happen. But how you channel the money and what for, unless you do that, you can go on giving the money. And much of it will be used for consumption. But if you basically, as I mentioned, establish a development partnership, find for the people.
Right.
The money may be no more than what they are giving. For example, you give them in installments of 1,000, 2,000 a month or whatever it is, you end up giving them about 25,000 rupees. But instead of doing it that way, if you just find out from them, maybe with a lump sum amount of 24,000, they might be next year not needing that much. Or maybe after 2, 3 years they would say, "That's yes, we have really reached at a stage we are earning that much money."
Right.
So that is really because that's what happens. I mean, these programs go on and spend billions and billions, and they go on increasing it. They think that, well, this is something which will win votes for the government. It will, maybe, but it does not really achieve the basic objective of helping the poor to get, they improve their livelihood and get above the poverty line.
Sir, then I must ask you, what is it that guided you in creating the strategy that your organization pursues? I'm sure there must have been some trial and errors in understanding that which region would require what sort of attention. So, how did the process of achieving a better impact, let's say, come to you?
No, I didn't do it. I was a copycat.
Oh, no.
I saw people who have done it and achieved that objective. So I didn't do anything in it. There's nothing original what I'm doing. I simply saw what Dr. Amit Khan was doing, and I saw that that was really producing the results.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, you can bring in some improvement depending on the conditions in which you are working. There could
Right.
be adaptations and some changes or whatever it is. But the basic sort of principle remains the same.
Certainly. So, sir, also, I would also like to ask then, because a lot of times when it comes to resolving an issue, we tend to hear different projects come from the state or any organization. So, what I'd like to know is, why does Pakistan actually have too much focus on projects equal to policy? And then I would also like to know, okay, has your organization initiated any policy interventions that are focused on behavioral change uh, at any level? It could be behavioral change within the government. With the people, I understand that your approach is to mobilize the community, bring them together. That I have understood. But in terms of influencing the public policy side, what sort of efforts can we have you been working on?
Well, I mean, demonstration is the best sort of way of convincing people. And so, what we do, we try to expose the policymakers to that. And some of the policymakers get very impressed and then see to it that they will do it like that. For example, I mean, like Sindh, where firstly we are only working with women, and if you work with women, they are very committed and very dedicated, and helping a woman means you are helping the whole family.
Yes.
So that is where the government, when they see it, they feel that yes, it is something which can be, and they come up with programs like poverty alleviation program for province. But it all depends on demonstration and persuading the policymakers to come and see. Seeing is believing.
Seeing
If
is
they don't
believing.
see that, they think that, well, what is this? They're just talking and it's rhetoric and all that.
Right. And so, lastly, sir, I would like you to conclude perhaps with a message for the younger generation of Pakistan uh, as to how pursuing these sort of projects or this commitment to welfare. What would be your message to the younger generation of Pakistan and also to those who sit in the corridors of power?
No, I mean, as far as the younger generation is concerned, of course, they have their own dreams, they have their own plans. But if they are in an area where a rural support program is working in their own area, there's no harm in their going and see that what the people think, talk to the people, let's see. So maybe later on, I mean, this just when they are hopefully in positions of power, then they might remember that yes, there was something which I saw, and they might become a helpful asset to us.
I hope so. Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful having this conversation with you. We hope to engage with you again. And your message is important. Your work is powerful. We hope to continue seeing you take the lead and inspiring many people across Pakistan. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for finding the time and giving me and my work publicity. What else can I ask? Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. See you again in another episode of Policy Beats.